Hi everybody, I'm Otto Schwartz and I made a long trip to Moscow region to see the new amazing project by my friend Nick Klimenko, the founder of LFO Store. This is the private synthesizer museum / sound design laboratory. It's not just a rented space. Nick has built the entire house for these purposes. At the moment, he has more than 120 synthesizers, both vintage and the modern ones. And I'm here today to celebrate the new achievement, the new milestone in the development of our international project. What Nick is doing definitely looks very altruistic, because, in fact, he will help to grow up a new generation of sound designers, sound engineers, and music producers. Hi Nick, my congratulations with the beginning of the new project.
Thank you very much, Otto. Let's go into the pleasure room.
Wow, let's see that.
Welcome to NK Synth Museum. At last, the long-awaited dream is true. During 6 years of LFO Store, I made 250 sound sets, and these numbers are a bit scary, but I made 12,000 patches for all of these instruments. My dream was to combine all of these instruments in one place and make it available to everyone. So first of all, let's talk about the Yamaha SY series. Here we're having 6 models from this series. In fact, there are 7 models. So the first 2 models, 22 and 35, are vector synthesizers. You have 4 elements and you can move from one element to another element. Both models, SY22 and 35, was developed by Dave Smith, who also was in the development of the original wave station. Next one is the Yamaha SY55. It's a real treasure in my collection because it's from 1989. It's more than 30 years old, but when I grabbed it from the Japan, it was like nobody even played. So it's a real honor for me to have this vintage instrument in such a great condition. And in the LFO Store, we're having 2 sound sets. The next model is Yamaha SY77. It's not a vector synthesizer, it's a complex FM synthesizer plus AVM Yamaha well-known technology. It's one of the most deep and dynamic FM synthesizers ever produced. SY99. It's having more capabilities, sampling capabilities, more effects.
There are 2 modulation wheels, as I may see, yeah?
Yeah, and they are working a bit differently because this modulation wheel works like an ordinary one, and this can be moved from the center to one position or from the center to the another position. A different kind of modulation techniques. One of the last models from this series is SY85. It was one of the first workstations. There are AVM technology plus drums, effects, and it's also sounding very interesting. All of this series sounds very nice. What we don't have the model called TG33. It's a kind of SY22, but in the desktop edition. It's having more presets. I think at future we will also grab this one too.
Yeah, this one is my personal favorite in terms of, pure analog sound. It's real fat, real moody, an amazing one.
First of all, let's giving a bit of tenderness to this model because it was so hard to us to buy it. It was like 5 years ago. It was expensive, and we don't get girls to cafe. We collect money. We sold a few instruments. Super nice instrument. It's having 5 oscillators, like you have 3 VCOs, you have 2 sub oscillators, and you are having lots of modulation capabilities. What we're loving Arturia for, they are all the time developing all of their instruments to a new level. Matrix Brute is more like a modular synthesizer, in which you can choose any destination, any location, and make a modulation with any parameter. So it's like a treasure in our collection. So every one of you knows this model. It's JD800. It's one of the greatest and deepest digital synthesizers.
It was created by Synth producer.
Actually not. Actually, this unit was a bit broken. As you know, there are red glue issue in this model, and the keyboard was totally dyed, and there were scratches on the surface. Synth stickers here to take off the scratches, and now it's fully working. You can tune 4 layers, like 4 sounds, and make one complex sound.
So Nick, here I can see some Behringer synths. So Ule Behringer's paid us, to promote his Chinese copies of the original synthesizers.
Yeah, it was a great payment, thanks to Uli. And I want to say that we had a lot of hype and make a lot of money. Of course, we are joking, but I want to say something about this model. This is a Model D, the copy of the original Minimoog. And when people saw at first this copy, they said, "Oh no, Behringer started to make the synthesizers will be same crap as their mixers and other crap." So when I saw first comparisons with the original Minimoog Model D, which costs 30 times more, it was like 95% like original. And then people finished their laughings. Yeah, and then Behringer starts to make all the copies of all most important, iconic, famous models from the 70s, from the 80s, and actually we're like very much all what is Uli doing. Not for a long time ago, we had celebrated 500 sound sets for the hardware synthesizers. And you're asking all the time, guys, when you will release this model. Now on our desk you can see what we will release at autumn and closer to winter. There are a lot of models. Hope you're having these models and hope you will enjoy our new discovering. Many musicians thinking that Kawai is famous of their grand pianos and digital pianos, but not only. They made a lot of great synthesizers in 90s and at 80s. This is a K3 with the digital waveforms and analog filter, and this is K5 true digital additive synthesizer. It's the most complex additive machine in hardware format, and their flagship K5000S, it's the most synthesizer-like workstation with all needed parameters on the top, with arpeggiator and with the great sounds, combining samples and additive synth technology.
I also would like to mention your Alesis synthesizers. They are very underestimated, as I may judge.
I love Alesis as a company. I love Alesis as very creative instruments. Ion, it's like a virtual analog synthesizer with the 2 mod wheels. and lots of possibilities with the pre-filter and post-filter and a big matrix modulation. It sounds very nice. And Fusion is very rare synthesizer and unfortunately very underrated and maybe forgotten. It combined a lot of different synthesizer techniques like FM, synth and samples and subtractive synthesis, and it sounds really great. And it's having its own hardware drive, so you can put all the samples and all the patches inside on the hard drive. It's so nice. And it's a classical quadra-synth synthesizer. It's like a workstation but with subtractive synthesis parameters. By the way, it was restored. These two wheels was restored on 3D printer at our friend Vladimir. He checked the measurements and made absolutely the same wheels, and they fitted very perfectly. Maybe in the future we will be rich enough to get Andromeda A6. So here are Ergon 8X synthesizer by Modal Electronics. We're having an official collaboration with the Modal Electronics from England. They are very, very nice guys, and we made factory presets for the Ergon 8 and for the Cobalt 8. And there were a very funny story how we got these synthesizers. Modal Electronics promised us to send 2 synthesizers as an exchange for our work. And when I went to the official partner in Moscow, United Music, there were a very specific director of this shop. I tried to connect him for 3 or 5 times. At the time that he confirmed that he will be at office, I came to their shop, and he wasn't there. And I called him and said, "Hey man, what kind of a director you are?" He said, "Okay, maybe later," and all of this bubble gum. And I then felt like a Chuck Norris. I said, "I'm taking 2 best Modal synthesizers." And I took these 2 synthesizers, and in slow motion I went away. So that's the story. Vintage synthesizer collection cannot go without sad stories. Old, almost 35 years old instruments needs to be repaired time to time. And from all the collection of 120 instruments, this Ensoniq MR61 unfortunately at this period cannot be repaired because I cannot find now in the world the other motherboard. So it's like collecting dust, but suddenly we got ZR76, and it's a miracle, but it's having kind of the same motherboard. And those guys who fixed my instruments, they said, if you need to play on MR61, just put this motherboard here, but I will tell you by the secret to open and to get a motherboard and put it into another synthesizer. It's a kind of 2 or 3 hours. So it's not just like that easy.
Oh yeah, by the way, Nick, I would like to mention that this one is one of my personal favorites hardware digital synthesizers at the moment. I have been worked with the Access Virus T synthesizer for more than 15 years, as you know, as the official sound designer, but unfortunately they stopped the development of the projects opposite to Novation company, and Pick is actually a good replacement for the Virus TI. It has an ALEC filter and Oxford oscillators, so I'm really impressed. I assume that Novation Pick and Hydra synths are the best hardware releases of the recent years. So I highly recommend them to be used in the modern electronic music production.
It's kind of successor of Novation synthesizers. It is having all great possibilities, previous models. And by the way, we made two very nice sound sets.
Yeah.
And maybe we will make a bundle with 3 sound sets.
Yeah.
And you'll have a great opportunity to have all our great sounds for a reasonable price.
Dear friends, I hope you have enjoyed this video, so subscribe to our channel to be on top of what is happening in the spheres of sound design and music industry. Follow us and may the force and inspiration be with you.